All right, this week's question on You've Got Questions, I've Got Answers is how long will it take my house to sell? Stay tuned, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways to look into that.
You better get fired up.
You better get fired up, baby. It's Friday. Everybody loves a good Friday. Hopefully, we got a good weekend here. Weather looks like it's improving. That's good. So I'm excited to get out there and enjoy the weekend. I'm going to be out looking at houses. I'm going to be doing an open house, and some different things that I'm looking at include the time it's taking to sell homes. It's a common question I'm getting lately. In fact, it's probably not a question I ever got in 2021, 22, 23. But now, over the last maybe year or two, I'm starting to hear this question more often. Joe, what's the expectation for us when it comes to selling our home? It's really not a black or white answer. There's a lot of gray to it. So I want to go over it, and I'm going to present it to you the same way I would present it to someone who's considering selling their home with me. So I'm going to get in right now, and I'm going to share my screen. And what I'm going to show you is called the MLS. It's a multiple listing service. And it is, all right, you should be able to see it now. This is the hub for everything, right? So this is kind of the resource for Zillow and Trulia and Redfin and Realtor and eXp Realty and Keller Williams and Coldwell Banker, and all those websites are fed through this thing. Okay, this is the base, the resource for all it. So we're going to come in and we're going to go look at Port St. Lucie. We're going to look at 3 different things here. And I'm going to look at solds in the last, let's say, roughly month. Okay, so 27 of 2026. Oh my gosh, it's so weird saying the year 2026. Also, if you were a particular seller of mine, I would break this down so it was very like your house. If you were selling a condo, I'd only look at condos. If you're selling a townhome, I'm only going to look at townhomes. If you're selling a $600,000 home, I'm only going to look from 550 to 650, right? But here, I'm going to look at all single family homes. That's typically what I'm being asked about. We're going to look at single family. So you can see there's 309 sales. And then you can see they're all over with the blue dots here. You can see they're all over this city. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into list view right here. And I'm going to go to, so there's days on market and cumulative days on market. The way that works is days on market is how many days has it been on since it was last put on the market. Cumulative days is if there was a gap less than 30 days between listing A and listing B, like maybe you put it on, you took it off for a week, and then you put it back on, the cumulative days are not going to start back at day 1. They're going to keep going from your last listing, okay? So I would say cumulative days matters more or is more accurate than days on market. So I'm going to put these in order of highest to lowest. And you can see there's 309. So the median days on market it took for, and this is until you get under contract. So if I get under contract in 3 days, but then it takes another 30 to close, the answer here is not going to be 33. It's going to be 3. It's how many days we took until we actually had a contract, right? So the 155th is going to be median. So let's come down here to 155. You can see we're at 125, 150, and here's 155 right here. Cumulative days on market 61. So you would say, oh, so the median is 61, right? Yes, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's your expectation. You can see, though, that, like, let's go the other way around. Let's go ascending. And you'll see, you're going to see a lot here. How many? 12 of the 309 sold in a day. Now, I'm guessing, there's no way of knowing this, but I'm guessing that maybe 3 or 4 of these actually were on the market. They took 1 day, they got offers, and they went under contract, boom, they're sold. But probably 2/3 to 3/4 of these already had a buyer in place before they even put it on the market. I've had that situation before where a seller says, hey, I'm thinking about selling. I say, I've got a buyer for that. Let me bring them in and see if they'll give you market value. They come in, they say, oh my gosh, please don't put this on the market. I want to buy it. Whatever they want, I'll give it to them. Okay, here's what I told you we're going to list at. If I can get you that, would you do it? Yeah, sure, I'll do it. And now we've got a contract before it's even on the MLS. And then you'll go put it on the MLS just for statistical data, right? So the appraisers have something to look at. and people have something to compare their homes to. So you'll see that a lot. And you'll see with a lot of these homes as well, they'll only have one photo because they're not going to pay a professional photographer to go through. I almost went through and was going to show you, but the point of this video, you're not going to care. So we're not going to go into that. But you can see if we're looking at 10 days on market, 53 out of 309, that's more than 15% are selling in a week and a half, right? If we go up to 30 days, oh man, I skipped a little too far. If I go up to 30 days, I'm looking at 102, almost exactly a third are selling in a month or less. Okay. 2 months, remember that was half because median was 61 days. So if you're looking at 90 days, it's going to be the majority of these. 203, or almost exactly 2/3, are selling in 3 months or less. Okay. So you might think, oh man, this is pretty hopping market. We're going to be good. Yes and no. You've got to remember, these are the folks who sold, meaning when they knew their home was worth 500, they listed it at 500 or maybe even at 490 and they got it closed. Or maybe they listed at 500, they got an offer for 485 and they said, I'm motivated, I'm going to take it. This does not account for all of the people who are overpriced and didn't sell, for all the people who have deferred maintenance and don't want to fix it, who have, pink and orange and neon green bedrooms and don't want to repaint them and they're not selling. It doesn't take any of those into consideration. So again, 309 sold. I'm going to come back now and I'm going to look up expired. So this means their contract expired. They did not close. And I'm going to go from the last 30 days again. Why do I have two of these cats in here? Let's get rid of one. Okay, so there we go. So we had 98 expire. That's for every 3 sales, there was one where it was pulled off the market. It did not sell, right? The listing expired. Now you've also got withdrawn, meaning maybe the listing period isn't up yet, but we're going to pull it anyway. That's another 23. All right. So 90 something plus another 23. And then here we've got canceled. So again, that's probably before the end of the listing period. They decide to take it off. There's another 86. So you're looking at more than 2/3 of the sales in expireds, withdrawns, and cancellations. And don't forget about the 1,936 that are still in the market that haven't sold. Okay. So now it doesn't look so sexy, does it? And I'm not trying to scare people. What I'm trying to say is, if you really don't understand this data and you're really not selling, a home a week or, maybe 2-3 homes a month, something where you've got a good pulse on the market, you may not fully understand what a lot of this data says. Maybe you heard one piece of data from NBC News or Yahoo News or Fox News or whatever it is. You've really got to look into extrapolating what that means. Okay. So you can see that even though 61 is the median days, and even though half of these homes are selling in 2 months or less, 2/3 are selling in 3 months or less, that only looks at sales. It does not look at all of those that were withdrawn, expired, canceled, or they're still active and they've been on there for a while. Let's look at these 1,936 that have been on the market. Now, I'm skewing the data because I'm only going to show you the really high ones here, but I want to show you how long some of these have been on. 1,000 days, 800 days. Let's come down to 365 days. Right here. 70 out of 1,936, 70 homes in Port St. Lucie that are on the market right now have been on for at least 1 full year. Let's look at 180 days. I'm going to have to really scroll here. 180 days plus. Woo! You might want to take a nap, wake up in a little bit. So there's a lot. Right here. 368. That's almost 20%, if my math is right. I think that's right. Have been on for at least 180 days. All right, that's quite a bit. So now I'm scaring you. First, I made you feel really good. Now I'm scaring you. Let's look at one more thing, and then I'm going to tell you my opinion on this and what you should be thinking. So we're going to do what's called an inventory search, and it's looking at how many listings are currently on the market, and if we didn't take on any new listings and we continued to sell at the rate we've been selling at, how long would it take to get through all those listings? That's your inventory. I typically say 3 to 4 months is neutral. Anything under 3 months is a pretty strong buyer's market or seller's market. I'm sorry. Anything over 4 months is a stronger buyer's market. So I'm going to come into sold date. We're going to look at the last 90 days, roughly. That'd be January, December, November 27 of 2025. And again, we're looking at, we got single family. Yep, single family homes. Oh, I'm getting spinny circles. So let's hit list. Okay, so we got 1,936. All right, so we knew that. So now, oh, that's why, because I got sold date in here. Okay, so 1936. So now if I come up to closed, we got 942 closed. Okay. Uh-oh, where's my calculator? Here it is. So 1936 divided by 942 times 3 months, we've got 6.16 months of inventory. So what does that tell me? That tells me we've got a buyer's market as a whole. If I broke this down like 3.25 to 350, it would be a much stronger seller's market, not a seller's market, but probably a neutral market. If I'm looking at 600 to 800,000, you'd probably see a much stronger buyer's market, right? If I looked at different HOAs, some are going to be very hot, some are going to be very cold, depending upon a lot of different things. So this is the whole Port St. Lucie market. Again, if you come to me as an individual seller, I'm going to do this specifically for your neighborhood or your price point. Or if you're, on the St. Lucie River, I'm only going to look at riverfront. But for the whole city, you're looking at a little over 6 months. That tells me it is a buyer's market. It's not a strong buyer's market, but it's certainly a buyer's market. And then when you look at how many have been on for 180 days, 365 days plus, that supports it. Then you look at all of the expireds, the withdrawals, and the cancellations, that further supports it. But then when I look at, the fact that there were 300 and some sold, and a lot of them had sold in 10 days or less, 30 days or less, 90 days or less, that tells me, along with the experience that I've had in this market, homes are still selling. The difference we're seeing, and sellers don't like to hear this, but it's just a dose of reality, a big fat dose of reality. If your home comps out at $400,000, you should list it at $400,000. If you list it at 405, 410, 420, there's a good chance with all of the options out there, right? 300 selling a month and 1,936 available. There's a good chance you're not going to get showings. And even if you do, you're not going to get an offer because they're going to go look at something else that is priced better. And it is so common that people say, oh, 400? Great, let's start at 410. We got to leave some wiggle room, some negotiation room. But it doesn't work. It worked in 2021, but right now it's not working. It's not working. 95% of people who are starting higher than they should are having to come down. And now that they've come down, people see that like hungry sharks in blood-infested water. This one's been on for a month or two. I see they've dropped their price. They must be desperate. Doesn't matter if it's true. That's the perception. That perception drives the offer, right? And when I say drives the offer, I mean drives the terms, the price. If it's been on for 3 days and it's priced great, that also drives the offer. And when I say drives the offer, I mean the terms and the price, they're going to be strong. When you've been on for a month or two, you've reduced your price. the terms and price are probably not going to be so strong. And you might say, well, it doesn't matter. I'm not taking it. The fact that you're not taking it says that you're not going to lose your house to a smaller price. Okay, cool. But it also says you could have sold your house for full market value and now you can't. So you can say that, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have an impact on you. It does. So if you're thinking, I don't really need to sell, and after hearing my realtor tell me that it's worth X, and I really wish I would get 10, 20, 30, 40 grand more than X, then don't sell. In my opinion, I would say keep it off the market, right? You're probably going to do more harm than good. Yes, I'm not the real estate god, and you could get that buyer who's going to pay that amount. And yes, they might be cash, so we don't have to worry about an appraiser seeing the same things that I'm seeing, and now the deal falls apart because the appraisal comes in short. That could happen. But the odds of that happening versus the odds of you sitting and not selling are very low. There's a much greater chance you're going to sit and not sell. You've got to price it right. And I'll tell you right now, I'm seeing more and more. I never had this in 2021 because everybody loved the number I gave them because their numbers were skyrocketing. No matter what I told them, they loved it. Now I've got people who are living there for a year or two. I'm saying, hey, your homes were 475, and they're saying, we really need 500 to get out of here. And I'll always say, I don't mean to be sarcastic, but let's just say that you and I are going to look at homes. You're the buyer. I'm your agent. And we look at a home and it's 500 grand. And you say, man, this is a lot like all the 475s we saw. And I say, yeah, but they need 500 to get out of this. Are you going to say, oh, okay, well, then give them 500? No, you're going to say, I got to look out for myself, my family. I'm going to go buy one of these other nice homes that's the same as this one, but 25 grand less at 475. And that's what people are doing. And those homes are part of the 300 and some that are selling. But if you're overpricing your home, it's just not happening. So what I'm seeing a lot now is I'm getting a lot of pushback as the professional, and I get it. It doesn't offend me. I understand the emotional attachment that people have, but people will say, look at my flowers outside. How can you have my price so low when my flowers are so vividly purple and red? Because I've had hundreds of real estate sales and zero of them purchased the home because the flowers were vivid. They're beautiful. I'm glad that you've got beautiful flowers, but that doesn't drive value. I'm glad that you've got crown molding, but that doesn't significantly impact the value, right? It's really cool that you've got a backsplash that you love, but a lot of people have backsplashes, and some aren't going to like yours and some are going to like your competitors. It doesn't really drive a ton of value. The things that drive value are location, square footage, age of the home, age of the roof, age of the AC, condition, and then overall upgrades, right? If you put in 20 grand in new flooring, it doesn't mean your home's worth 20 grand more. Maybe your home's worth 12, 15, 16 grand more. It's probably not worth 20 grand more. Not in every situation, but in some. If you put in a $100,000 pool, your home is not worth $100,000 more. I've done the research. I've got videos out showing it. In Port St. Lucie, it's typically 45 to 55 grand more, right? You're going to get roughly half of that back. So do these things for yourself. If you're going to stay there, do those things, great. But it's funny how a buyer, and I get it. We're all like this. I'm probably like this outside of real estate. So I'm probably giving myself a hard time right now. It's funny how we will downplay the value of something when we're buying. But when we're selling, we think all of those little things are worth so much. And it's hard to tell a seller, hey, your plantation shutters are beautiful, but they're not going to add a lot of value to your property. Yeah, but I paid $11,000 and look at how beautiful they are. I got it. But I've never seen an appraiser who has said this home's worth $395. Oh, plantation shutters, I forget that, $405. I've never seen that before. So I understand where you're coming from, and it's a tough conversation to have with sellers. But at the end of the day, I always tell people, listen, I don't mean this negatively. I want your business. I want to work with you. I want to earn it. I want to work hard. But at the end of the day, I don't want it so bad that I'm going to tell you a price that's fictitious. And then we're going to be on the market forever and we're going to have a tough time selling. That doesn't mean I don't have listings that sit for a long time and don't sell. I do, but I have educated those sellers and said, here's your value. If you want to list up here, you can. I'm just telling you, you're probably not going to sell until you come down to reality here. And if you take long enough, a month or more, to come down to reality, reality still might not do it. You might have to come 5-10 grand under that because you're market worn now, right? As long as I've educated them, I mean, sellers can do whatever they want. I'll always, whatever you want to do, I'm here to help you. But I'm going to educate you and I'm going to say some things that you might not like because I think it's important. And I think that's why you're paying me, or at least in my opinion, why you should be paying me. So when you hear that value, I know these days, especially if you've lived there 1, 2, 3 years, that value isn't what you wished it would be. I get it. But just remember, it may do more harm. And don't just listen to me. Go Google this. Go YouTube it. You'll see a million other professionals, not just realtors, but appraisers, probably flippers, investors saying the same thing. Analysts saying the same thing. Don't take my word for it. Go look it up. But do yourself a favor and do the research of how to price a property. Because what I see 80% of people doing, which is, hey, let's add on an extra 10, 20, 30 grand for wiggle/negotiation room, it's hurting them more than it's helping them. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If there's another question you've got and you'd like me to answer it on next week's You've Got Questions, I've Got Answers, feel free to put it in the comments or send me a private DM and I'm happy to do it. Thanks for joining me and have a phenomenal weekend. Take care.